Hey guys, I just want to make a quick video to demonstrate why dragdown fair sometimes can be inconsistent in real games, even though you can do it very consistently using this training mod. So this is especially relevant for all these 0% up throw combos that contain a dragdown fair. These have become more and more popular lately, stuff like up throw, up air, drag down fair, and to regrab, or any kind of variation of this. People love to find these long combos in training mode that are supposedly true, and they can do it over and over with using this training mod with random DI and buffered air dodge. But somehow, when they try it in real games, the opponent will sometimes just pop out of the dragdown fair. So in this video I'll explain why this might happen, and one difference between the training mod that the training mod does not take into account, but that happens in real games. So as you can see here, I'm just doing the up throw, up air, dragdown fair, and now I'll also activate the buffered air dodge and random DI, and I'm doing it again now with this activated, and I can still do it super consistently because it makes no difference. The opponent cannot DI this combo because none of the moves put him into tumble animation. You can only DI moves that put you into tumble, and he will also not air dodge because it's simply a true combo. So you would expect this same thing to happen in real games, right? So what I'm doing now is I turn off the training mods, and instead I plug into a second controller and I hold inwards. I hold to the left, so we will always move to the left and DI to the left, and I also have a turbo controller, so he will spam the air dodge or grab. So you would expect the same thing to happen here, right? So now we try, and you can see that when I do the exact same inputs, he will actually pop out to the left. So somehow he DI'd or moved to the left, even though he cannot DI because none of the moves put him into tumble. And I do the same thing, but now I plug him in so he will move outwards instead. He will DI to the right. And if I now try to like read him DIing in, so I have to move a bit to the left, and now we can see that he actually falls out to the right of the combo. So why does this happen? So even though he cannot DI, it is actually true that he cannot DI this, but there's SDI, and there's also something called automatic SDI or ASDI. And this is basically if you just hold your stick to one side. You don't even have to like wiggle it like with the normal how you think of SDI. You just hold it to one direction. At the end of the move, after the freeze frames, it will actually move slightly to this one side. So it almost like one SDI input. It's just slightly weaker than the normal SDI. But still, this can affect dragdown fair enough to pop them out, unfortunately, for Pikachu. Because if you take a look at the frame data for fair, we can see that it's actually 4 hits. So that means if your opponent just holds one direction during the fair, this will actually be 4 ASDI inputs. So we'll move slightly to one side 4 times, and this is enough to make him pop out sometimes. So I can try to compensate by moving to the direction that he holds. So if he holds to the left, I can try to move a bit to the left while doing the fair, and yeah, that will actually work. But if he holds to the right and I try to read that he holds to the left, so I move to the left, then he will pop out. And if I try to move to the right to read that he is going out and he actually holds in instead, then he will also pop out. So a natural question to ask would be, can you react to which way he is moving and adjust on reaction which way you want to go? So during the fair you can just go to the right if you see him popping out to the right, and vice versa. It's an interesting question, but I think it's not possible based on my own practice. You have very little time to move, and it's basically too late. So the conclusion I make from this is that this dragdown fair, at least when the opponent is pretty high above the ground, then you need to follow his auto-SDI input. So when doing the up air fair, I think it's basically a 50-50. If he mixes up between holding in and out, or even better, if he just SDIs, so he just wiggles his stick, he can actually move even further than just holding. But even with just holding the stick, I think you have to simply guess which way he's going. Maybe there's also some kind of perfect spacing that makes you cover both him holding out and holding in, but for my testing it is not. Maybe on some specific characters this has to be tested more, but my opinion, this is a 50-50 basically, which is unfortunate because Pikachu would have so many dumb 0% combos with the dragdown fair. But I think it can become a bit inconsistent simply because it's easy for your opponent to pop out. So that's all I wanted to share. So just keep in mind that the training mod is not equivalent to a real game. It does not contain staling, but this doesn't affect so much, and it does not contain SDI and not auto-SDI. So just keep this in mind when practicing all these long combos in training mode with this mod. Maybe you can do it with random DI and buffered air dodge, but this does not mean necessarily that you can do it consistently in real games.